know what time it is, and I made it. Horror stories, and I made it. Horror stories, where are we at today? Our good cousins. I am our Scary Tales house. As always, please be sure. There's a little. Please be sure to go over there and subscribe, like some videos, watch some content. You don't have to watch it with me. Over here, you have to. You don't have a choice. Over there, go over there, watch by yourself. You know, neither here nor there. Who am I to control you? Let's jump right into it. Y'all know how I feel about these. What is this one? 2 True Honeymoon Horror Stories Animated. Please go grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket so you can be snug, okay? Don't forget to support over here. Like the video, comment. Let me know your favorite color. What's your favorite color? Okay, let's go.
When we found a horror theme.
There we go. I was like,
our honeymoon in Vegas was supposed to be a celebration of our quirks, a toast to our mutual love for the macabre and gothic. When we found a horror-themed suite in an offbeat Vegas hotel, it seemed like destiny. The room was draped in velvet, walls lined with vintage horror movie posters and eerie, lifelike statues that could make you jump if caught by the corner of your eye. Mark and I, both ardent horror enthusiasts from Boston, were thrilled.
It's like stepping into another world,
I told him. The first sign that something was off came when we met the hotel clerk during check-in. He was a gaunt figure, his skin sallow and eyes a bit too bright. Enjoy your stay, and remember, not everything is as it seems, he said with a cryptic smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. We laughed it off, attributing it to the hotel's ambiance. That night, as we settled in, the suite's charm morphed subtly into something more sinister. It started with the lights. They flickered erratically, casting shadows that seemed to writhe along the walls. Probably just bad wiring, Mark said, but his voice held an edge of uncertainty. Around midnight, the real terror began. The sound system, which we hadn't touched, blared to life, filling the room with the haunting sounds of a vintage horror film score. Mark went to turn it off, but the system was unresponsive. Then, the figures around the room seemed to shift slightly, as if coming to life. We chuckled nervously, trying to shake off the unease. But then we heard the first real scare. A loud, deliberate bang on the door. Mark cautiously approached and opened it, only to find no one there. As he turned back, the air filled with a sinister, guttural laugh from the sound system, sending chills down my spine.
We should have stayed at a normal hotel,
I half joked, trying to lighten the mood, but Mark didn't respond. He was staring at something behind us. I turned to see one of the statues, its head now unnervingly turned towards us, eyes that seemed too lifelike.
That wasn't like that before, was it?
I whispered, my heart starting to race. We decided to call the front desk, but the phone line crackled and died the moment I picked up the receiver. That's when panic truly set in. The room grew colder, and the statues seemed to inch closer every time we looked away. We huddled together on the bed, watching as the door handle began to turn slowly. Mark grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy lamp ready to swing. The door creaked open, revealing the silhouette of a man, the same hotel clerk from earlier. But now his eyes were wild, his mouth twisted in a horrifying grin. Welcome to the real horror show. Hope you have a good ride, he hissed, stepping into the room with an unsettling calmness. His hands were empty, but his presence was threatening enough. He began muttering to himself about needing to purge the impurities and how we were the perfect tribute. Mark lunged at him with the lamp, catching him off guard and knocking him back. The clerk scrambled up, his face contorted in rage, and hurled himself at Mark. They crashed into one of the statues, sending it toppling over with a crash that echoed through the room.
Okay, so there was nobody in there.
Trying to pull the madman off Mark, but he was surprisingly strong.
Hit him in the head with something.
His fingers digging into Mark's arm, drawing blood. He then licked his bloody hands.
Oh, you nasty bastard!
Salty. I bet her blood tastes better. He shrieked,
Mark,
spit flying from his mouth. The fight was brutal and desperate. The hotel clerk, with his deranged strength, seemed nearly impossible to subdue.
Are you gonna grab anything?
Mark grappled with him, trying to use his own weight to pin the man down. But the clerk's madness lent him a terrifying frenzy. Amidst the chaos, I spotted a shard from the broken statue. With no time to hesitate, I grabbed it, my hands trembling.
It's alright.
Get off him!
You already said that.
My voice hoarse
Already
with
said
fear.
that. You don't need to say no more warning signs. The shard
glinted in the flickering light as I swung it, managing to catch the clerk on his forearm. He howled in pain, the sound so animalistic it froze my blood. The distraction was enough. Mark shoved him off, and we scrambled away, positioning ourselves between the door and the madman. Blood, both Mark's and the clerk's, stained the ornate carpet, adding a grim reality to the horror-themed decor. The clerk, clutching his bleeding arm, glared at us with unhinged eyes. It's just a show, fellas. It's so unusual to have such gorgeous couples like yourself grace this little abode which I built, an ode to the macabre. How do you like this, sweet? Oh, wait, you haven't seen my collection yet. Fingernails. When you die, your skin shrinks, so your hair and nails keep growing, love. Oh, I have collected some brilliant fingernails. Dark, muddied, bloodied. Come on, love. Come with me. Let me show you my precious collection. Walk with me. He screamed, his voice echoing unnervingly around the room. His demeanor shifted then, as if he were listening to some unseen advisor. His next words were chillingly calm. Oh, babe, don't worry. You'll become a part of the collection, too.
We're leaving and we're calling the police.
I declared, my voice steadier than I felt. I had to bluff, as our phones were dead, and the room seemed designed to be a trap. Mark nodded, moving slowly to the door, never taking his eyes off the clerk. Come near us again, and I swear I'll finish this, he growled, the threat clear in his tone. The clerk seemed to consider this. Then, with a disturbing smile, he backed away, disappearing into the shadows of the hallway as if he could melt into the darkness itself. We didn't wait to see if he would return. Grabbing our essentials, we bolted from the room, not stopping to look back until we reached the lobby. Breathless and disheveled, we burst into the brightly lit front desk area, startling the night manager. Our story tumbled out incoherently, but the sight of our injuries and our genuine terror convinced him to call the police immediately. Officers arrived within minutes, their presence a stark relief against the night's horrors. They listened intently, their expressions growing graver by the minute. Upon searching the hotel, they found the clerk in a hidden room behind the reception area, surrounded by monitors displaying various rooms, not just ours. It turned out he had been watching and recording guests for months, his psyche deteriorating into madness, fueled by an obsession with horror and surveillance. The resolution came swiftly after that. The clerk was arrested, his room of horror sealed off as evidence. We were treated for our injuries and given a new room in a different hotel, this time a brightly lit, cheerful place that couldn't be further from our original nightmarish choice.
Honestly.
In the aftermath, Mark and I clung to each other, our honeymoon forever marked by the ordeal. Yet through that terror, our bond had only strengthened, a stark contrast to the darkness we had endured. We had survived the suite's horror, but more importantly, we had survived it together. As we finally settled into sleep, the first calm night since our arrival, I realized the true depth of our vows. In sickness and in health, in horror and in peace, we were united. And nothing, no psycho, no horror-themed nightmare, could ever change that.
In horror or in peace? That's new. I ain't never heard that one before.
It was supposed to be our paradise, a secluded villa on the shores
Not
of
be adding
Kauai.
that
It's
one
the
into
kind of
my
place you
vows.
see in a glossy travel magazine.
Okay.
My husband, Ben, had found this gem tucked away from the usual tourist spots,
Oh, that looks
promising
lovely.
privacy and romance under the Hawaiian stars. That first evening, as the sun dipped into the ocean, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink, I remember feeling like the luckiest woman in the world. But then it
What
began,
happened?
our nightmare. Subtly at first, an art so perfected by our tormentor that at first we mistook his signals for mere coincidences. It started with a rustling outside our bedroom window, a whisper of movement that vanished when I pulled back the curtain.
There's supposed to
Ben
be
joked
nobody out there.
it was probably just a curious gecko, but my feminine sense told me that something was off. We found the first gift the following morning, right on our doorstep. A seashell, but not the kind one picks up as a souvenir. It was jagged, broken, stained with something
I was gonna
dark
say, is that blood
I hoped
on
was
it?
mud.
It
But
don't
deep
look
down,
like
I
mud.
knew it was dried blood. Ben tried to laugh it off, to ease the tension that clung to the morning air, but his smile didn't quite reach his eyes.
You're gonna piss me
The
off.
seclusion of the spot meant that the staff was scarce as well. There was a storm, which was predicted, so they said there would be disturbances. We did want to be alone on our honeymoon after all, so we didn't mind either. That night, the real terror took form. We were awakened by the sound of tapping on the glass.
No.
Standing at our
Ain't
window
nobody
was a
supposed to be
figure,
out there.
masked with an ancient-looking tiki mask.
No.
Its eyes hollow, its expression frozen in a grotesque grin. The mask wasn't just eerie, it was a relic, imbued with a sinister energy that seemed to reach out towards us.
Sucks to say that I fucks with it though. I like it. It looks kind of cool. In the middle of the night, I'd be hooping and
Ben
hollering.
shouted at the man to leave, his voice filled with a
Get
mix
your
of
ass up
anger
outta
and
here.
disbelief. But the figure only tilted its head, as if amused, then quickly vanished into the darkness. I tried to call the staff, but the storm had rendered our room phones useless. The seclusion also meant that there was no signal, so we were unable to use our mobiles either. We were cut off, isolated, and I could feel panic threading through my veins like ice. And then it grew worse, more personal. We found photographs of us sleeping,
Oh, no.
laid out on the living room table. Each
Yeah, it's time
picture
to
was
go.
marked with a red X, and on the back, scribbled in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Too much happiness, must correct." How did he break in? We weren't safe and had to leave, but the storm grew fierce, so we decided to wait the night out. As the night bled into deeper darkness, our bedroom door slammed shut by an unseen force. We tried to open it, throwing ourselves against the wood, but it wouldn't budge. Then, the air around us thickened, choked with the scent of something burning. Smoke began to seep under the door. I remember coughing, the air razor sharp in my lungs.
Well, we knew
Ben's
that,
face
but
blurring
kinda
through my
burn
tear-filled eyes as we realized that the psycho was trying to smoke us out. "Stay low!" Ben coughed out, pulling his shirt over his nose. We crawled to the bathroom, the only room without windows, the heat from the fire licking at our backs. Inside, we filled the bathtub with water, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Meanwhile, the man's psychotic laughter echoed through the villa, a sound so unhinged it made my skin crawl. Ben found a small vent, a possible escape. He boosted me up, but as I climbed, a hand grasped my ankle. He was in the bathroom. I screamed, kicking frantically, feeling the psycho's grip tighten. Ben hurled himself on the psycho and pinned him to the wall before breaking and shoving me toward the vent again, blocking the psycho's next attempt to grab me. "Go, Leia! Get out and find help!" His voice was rough with smoke and desperation. I crawled through the vent, emerging outside, gasping for breath. My heart pounded against my ribs, fear and adrenaline urging me forward.
Girl, you have to move fast.
Behind
The
me,
house is
the villa
burning.
burned, a beacon in the night, and I knew that if I didn't get help soon, Ben wouldn't make it out. Barefoot and desperate, I ran along the beach under the pelting rains, the cool sand in odd contrast to the heat that still radiated from my skin. The villa, our supposed paradise, was a fiery silhouette against the night. The psycho had set it on fire, its flames reflecting off the ocean like warnings I wished we'd heeded sooner. I had to find someone, anyone. My mind raced with images of Ben, alone and facing the madman. The thought pushed me faster, every breath a mixture of salt air and fear. I stumbled upon a small fisherman's shack, its windows dimly lit by the flicker of an old oil lamp. I pounded on the door, my knuckles raw, shouting for help. An elderly man opened the door, his eyes widening at the sight of me, disheveled, injured, wet, a wild panic carved into my face.
Please, you have to help me. My husband is back there. There's a man trying to kill us.
My voice broke, the terror of the night overwhelming me. Without a word, the old fisherman grabbed a radio, barking into it rapid Hawaiian. He then ushered me inside as his daughter came out and ran out into the storm. As we waited for what felt like eternity, I heard it again, that chilling, unhinged laughter. It drifted down the beach, carried by the winds. My blood froze. He was coming. The psycho had followed me. I peered out the window, catching the glimpse of the tiki mask among the shadows. He was close, too close. The fisherman saw him too and stood outside, a sturdy old harpoon in hand. His calm demeanor was the only thing that kept me from succumbing to utter panic. And then, there he was, the psycho, his mask now cracked, revealing glimpses of a scarred face twisted in fury. He screamed, a sound so filled with madness it seemed to shake the walls. "You can't escape love! The gods demand it!" He howled, lunging forward with a rusted machete that glinted in the lamp's light. The fisherman reacted swiftly, thrusting the harpoon with a practiced hand. It struck the psycho in the shoulder, pinning him against the wooden frame of the shack. The psycho shrieked, the sound animalistic, but he was trapped. And then, the fisherman landed 4 or 5 massive punches on his face, making him unconscious. Just when the old man was done tying the psycho's hands, we heard sirens, the sound more beautiful than any music I could imagine. Police flooded into the shack, securing the psycho, who was now laughing and crying in turns, speaking in tongues or maybe ancient Hawaiian. It was impossible to tell. They rushed me back to the villa, just in time to see firefighters dousing the last of the flames. I found Ben outside, supported by paramedics, his face soot-streaked and a broken arm, but alive. We collapsed into each other's arms, the relief a tangible thing between us. Later, we would learn that the psycho was once a respected historian of Hawaiian culture, driven mad by the loss of his family lands to developers. His mind had fractured, his grief manifesting in a delusional crusade to cleanse the island of outsiders. As we left Hawaii, the island's beauty now marred by our horrific memories, Ben squeezed my hand. "We survived," he whispered, the weight of those words heavy in the air.
Words you're not supposed to be saying on your damn your honeymoon. Why would you be saying we survived on my honeymoon? That is insane. I cannot imagine. I cannot. Honeymoon 1 or honeymoon 2? You're going to the creepy haunted hotel, or you're going to Hawaii and having to fight and hop out a window? I feel as if the fight in house number 2 was more intense because old buddy came out. Like, why would you come out the cut and grab her ankle? What are you grabbing her ankle for? And there's someone already in there, and then Ben did his big one, fighting, defending her honor. I don't understand how old buddy got out. How'd he get out? Because wasn't it fire coming from the other end? Did he also climb through the vent? He broke Ben's arm. So, like, maybe he broke his arm, hopped through the vent. Fight 1, Mark was getting his ass handed to him. He was on the floor getting getting nails dug in him. Like, that's too much. That was a lot. So we seen more fight one than we did fight two. We didn't get to see for real if Ben held his own. I mean, we've seen the mask broken, bloody face, but what, like, how did he get the machete if Ben didn't lose? As for Mark, Mark was going to almost die. Oh, girl had to come and hit him with the bow, you know? Um, I feel like in both situations, if they jumped that man with their spouse, it would have ended sooner. I always feel that way about every situation. Jump them. Why are you fighting one on one if he broke into your hotel room? Why are you fighting one on one? He broke into your Airbnb. Jump him. Other than that, I would say I want to say Hawaii. I want to say the Hawaii one just because it looked better. You know, the outside pool. You know, the the isolation sounds amazing if that man didn't pop up. You know, the haunted hotel. I already watched creepy shit by myself. I don't need to look at the statue and it have eyes. And it's like every time I turn away, it's no, I don't need that. So yeah, I think I would go to Hawaii. Even though the house got burnt up and all X, Y, and Z, I feel like me and my man would have jumped him. Day one, tapping on the window. We would have opened that damn window, hopped out there, jumping. You're getting jumped. Day one, immediately. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to I Am R. I Am R. Thank you so much for letting us use your video. And until next time, I love you guys. Bye.